All right, so we are here today for a case conference for the annual conference for SM. I would just like to introduce myself. I am Mrs. Boggs. This is the public agency rep, EW. And then the general education teacher is here with us, Mr. M. We have the social worker, SC. And then we have our student SM and her mother KM. So I would like you, before we get started, KM, can you please confirm that this is SM's date of birth, that her age is 12, her grade is 6, and currently attends New Prairie Middle School? Okay, and then I would like you to sign this paper, which is the case conference notice saying that we are having a meeting on 3/25/2025 for our annual conference. Okay, thank you. All right, first we are going to begin with the present evaluation information. So SM is a very sweet girl who works very hard in class and is dedicated. She is always willing to help the teacher out when she needs help. And her previous goals were for reading, written expression, and math. In reading, she had to read a passage at her independent level and answer explicit and implicit questions with 80% accuracy. She is meeting this goal exception, so she's doing very well with that. For written expression, she was to answer reading response questions by providing the main idea, two text evidence, and a conclusion sentence. This is something we call RACE. She is beginning to understand the claim and evidence, but we are still working on the rest of it, so she isn't quite meeting that yet, but she's getting there. So for math, her goal was to successfully answer multi-step computation problems with 80% accuracy. SM has had success with one-step math problems, but we haven't quite reached multi-step, so we haven't met this goal yet. So we've took some data over time, and the first one is her NWEA score. In 2024, she was in the 38th percentile in reading, and she was in the 2nd percentile in math. Her iReady diagnostic score, which we do twice a year, so in the middle of the year, she was at 26th percentile, and she was in reading, and she was 3rd percentile in math. At the end of the year 2024, she was in the 33rd percentile, so she went up in reading, and the 6th percentile in math, so she went up in math too. And then we have not received the iLearn data yet. They just took this, so we have not received that data yet, so I can't speak to that. Once I do get that information, I will let you know. Next, we're going to talk about the present levels of academic performance and her functional performance. So with communication, she's doing pretty well. She talks to her teacher, however, she does not talk to her peers as much. We'd like to see more engagement there. And she tends to only engage in conversation when she's comfortable. She does go to the counselor when she's overwhelmed, so she's able to communicate her feelings and her needs. Regarding her social emotional, teachers have stated that SM is a great kid to work with, and she has a great spirit, but she tends to gravitate towards adults rather than engaging with her peers. SM is polite and respectful, but they would like to see her work cooperatively with peers. It's not that she argues with them, she's just hesitant to work with them, and she would prefer to be by herself. She does reach out when she needs emotional support, and she has expressed anxiety regarding her medical issues she has had with her foot. She's often come to the guidance counselors for lunch, and just to get away for a calmer environment, but the counselor does love working with her. So as far as work habits goes, despite the challenges that SM faces, she's still dedicated and hardworking. She consistently puts forth effort in class. Most of her work is completed, but she does struggle to complete homework assignments. So anything that she has to complete at home typically is not completed. She participates in group discussion when she feels comfortable. The teachers have a feeling that if she were able to engage in these more, she would feel more confident with her peers and working with them. SM does not always utilize the tools that she's given. For example, we give her graphic organizers, and it's not always utilized, but it's something we're working on. And we've noticed that she often has to seek approval from teachers to engage in the content. So the current medical problems we have are noted with her foot, which is affecting her walking and mobility. Are there any other concerns that you have with medical or any updates? Okay, all right, so neuro, you're getting some testing done, all right. And then possible autoimmune disease, okay. So when you get those results, just let us know and we can update the information. So her functional performance, she's always following routines and rules. She tends to interact with teachers very well, but like we said, not as much with peers. She has good hygiene. Her anxiety is high, which we see the counselor for. How about at home? How are her functional skills at home? Okay, so she's good with routines. What about chores? Okay, so we're struggling a little bit with chores, okay. And you're seeing the same with homework? Oh, so she tells you she doesn't have homework, okay. So she can go online on Schoology as well as you to see what she has for homework. All notes are put on there as well from the teachers, so she has notes to help her with the homework. So that is something we can work on. So moving on to her reading. So reading is one of her strongest interests. She does have a genuine love for books and she has enthusiasm for literacy. She actively participates in discussions when she's comfortable, demonstrating engagement in learning. However, she struggles with explicit questions. So there's a concern regarding central ideas, summaries, and inferences. She does her iReady lessons at home, which is fantastic, and she does them at school, so we'd like to keep that up so this can help her with her reading comprehension. So in math, SM is a kind girl who will put forth effort in math. She struggles with reading comprehension, which follows into math and utilizing new concepts. Typically she can perceive new concepts, but she struggles to remember how to perform them day to day, week to week. She works hard in class, but is unable to always retain what was discussed. The more problems that are presented in a problem, the greater of a challenge it is. She is in a supported math class, but she needs to continue to use her calculator on all math work. So for her written expression, she actively engages in verbally sharing her ideas pertaining to a writing topic. However, when it comes down to writing it, she struggles. She particularly has a challenge in the writing process of these ideas, in developing and elaborating on her evidence to support her ideas. There's a goal to set up to work on this, so we are working on this. She does struggle to advocate for herself when writing, and she doesn't always utilize the graphic organizers we supply to her, so it would be good to see that utilized a little bit more. So SM has ranged from a 58% to 100% on her assignments in science. She does have some missing labs in class, which are counted as assessments, so that brought her grade down to a D-. And for social studies, we have Mr. M here, who can let you know how she's doing in there. so she's doing pretty well. There's room for improvement. So we talked about her functional skills at home. You were previously concerned with math regarding money and time, her anxiety, and her foot. So money and time will be addressed, and math will help her with that when it comes up, and her anxiety is something we are definitely focusing on. I wrote down your concerns that you had earlier. So if there's ever any more concerns, just contact me and let me know. So SM is eligible under other health impairment, and she has an outside diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. To find eligibility, we use previous test scores, observation. She had an OT evaluation, which OT was dismissed, and we got information from her previous school, which we have requested more, but we still have not heard from them. So there's no language needs related to English language proficiency, and there's no behaviors of concern. The student doesn't have a transition plan. She is anticipated to graduate in May 2031 and going for a Core 40 diploma. She will participate in I-Learns in grades 3 through 8, and I-Read was not taken due to living in a different state. So she will pursue a high school diploma, therefore she will be required to take all state assessments, and she will take these with her accommodations. Her assessment accommodations are additional breaks, use of headphones to block out distractions, extra time, directions, and content read aloud to student, text-to-speech, multiplication table for all math assignments, and use of calculator. And then we have her current goals. They are in reading comprehension, written expression, and mathematic processes. So in reading comprehension, she's given a grade level text, and she is to be able to use strategies such as closed reading, decoding strategies, or reading assistance to comprehend central ideas, summaries, and inferences with 75% accuracy in 3 of 4 trials. We usually use Rubik to find this, and her accommodations modifications for this will be provided by a special education teacher and her general education teacher. For written expression, she is given a grade level writing prompt and visual organizer. The student will compose a paragraph response to include a claim, 2 supporting pieces of evidence, explanations, and a conclusion, earning 65% or better on a writing rubric in 1 of 2 trials. So we're using a writing rubric for this. Accommodations and modifications will be given by the special ed teacher or the general education teacher. Next is mathematics processes. When she is given real world 1 to 2 step problems, the student will identify the problem, plan, and solve using formulas, charts, models, and a calculator with 65% accuracy in 3 of 4 trials. We will use assessments and work samples for this, and the special education teacher and general education teacher will be providing the accommodations and modifications. So her accommodations in class side of assessments are additional breaks, headphones to block out distractions, extra time, content read aloud to student, text-to-speech, multiplication table, small group, reteaching opportunities, use of calculator, type responses of a paragraph length or longer, and allowed to take a picture of notes on the board. So she does not have any other related services at this time. She doesn't need transportation assistance. She does not have any instruction materials to be provided in accessible format. She does not need assistive technology. There's no needed program modifications. We will send out progress reports for her every 9 weeks with a report card. It was determined that she does not need an extended school year, that they're not necessary in order to provide a free appropriate education. The extended school year was discussed, and the committee determined that the student does not meet the eligibility criteria, as the student does not demonstrate severe regression of skills over long periods of time without instruction. So she is not needed to go to the extended school year, and other options were rejected because more time in the resource room would be detrimental to SM, as it would not allow her to access the grade level curriculum. And as far as least restrictive environment, as far as that goes, she is in a federal program type 50, which means she's in the class 80% of the time, pulled out for assistance 20% of the time. It was saw that the potentially harmful effects would include that SM will miss time with the general education peers when pulled for accommodations in the resource room. Although she will be pulled from the general education environment and will miss time with her peers, she will be working directly on those academic goals. She will be included with her peers to the greatest extent possible, and the benefits of services outweigh the harmful effect. So the reasons for placement determination was that SM is able to access the general curriculum with the general education classroom setting for the majority of the day, which is 80%. Placement within the resource room for 20%, more than 20%, was rejected as too restrictive. So general considerations: SM is able to participate in all education programs and activities available to non-disabled students. She is able to participate in non-educational and extracurricular activities made available to non-disabled students. She is able to participate in general physical education program available to non-disabled students, with the modification that she is not to run due to her foot problems. She will be educated in the school she would attend if not disabled, and the length of her instructional day will be the same as her non-disabled peers. So her program information: the Corporation of Legal Settlement is New Prairie United School Corporation. Her Access Corporation is also New Prairie United School Corporation. Her Access School is New Prairie Middle School. Her educating school is New Prairie Middle School, and her next projected educating school where she will go to after middle school will be New Prairie High School. And then after we had reviewed all of our data, after we talked to the teachers, looked at test scores, data observations, how she's doing on her goals, we believe as a committee that it is needed for a reevaluation. We would like to have more information to establish eligibility for special education related services. So it is not that we don't think she will be eligible, we just have not received achievement data from the other schools. So we'd like more data so that we could more fit her needs than where we are now. And we are seeing some concerns in places in her cognitive abilities that we would like to see where she tests with that. So she will still be under other health impairment. We just need to get some achievement updates. And this would be for reading, written language, and math skills. Do you have any concerns with this, with the information I've provided, or with the evaluation? No. So you're okay with the evaluation? Okay. So I do want to ask you about the current situation with her foot. Where are we with that? Okay, so you're talking to a doctor about OT outside of school? Okay. All right, so let me know what comes back with that. And it looks like we covered everything, so I would just like you to sign this, which is the signature for consent to implement and the notice of your rights. Thank you. And we will start that evaluation as soon as we send the signature to the diagnostic team. So that is the conclusion of our conference, and I will be in contact with you if I have any more information. Thank you for coming.